Adishatvam Vijasheshta Vidhing Tad Upadhavanam Ashutushati Me Deva Sidantya Sahaputrakai Adishatvam Vijasheshta Vidhing Tad Upadhavanam Ashutushati Me Deva Sidantya Sahaputrakai
Ladies.
Adishatvam Vijasheshta Vidintadupadvanam Ashutushati Me Deva Sidantya Sahaputrakai
Adisha, just instruct me. From, O my husband, Dvija Shrestha, O best of the Brahmanas, Vidim, the regulative principles, Tat, the Lord, Upadhavanam, process of worshipping, Ashu, very soon, Tushati, become satisfied, May, unto me, Deva, the Lord, Sidantya, now lamenting, Saha, with, Putrakai, all my sons, the demigods. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O best of the Brahmanas, kindly instruct me in the perfect method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, by which the Lord may very soon be pleased with me and save me, along with my sons, from this most dangerous condition. Please repeat. O best of the Brahmanas, kindly instruct me in the perfect method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, by which the Lord may very soon be pleased with me and save me, along with my sons, from this most dangerous condition. Prabhupada's purport. Sometimes less intelligent men ask whether one has to approach a guru to be instructed in devotional service for spiritual advancement. The answer is given here, indeed, not only here, but also in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna accepted Krishna as his guru. Shishasteham sarimam tvam prapanam. The Vedas also instruct tad vijnanartham sagurum eva vigachet. One must accept the guru for proper direction when is seriously inclined towards advancement in spiritual life. The Lord says that one must worship the Acharya, who is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Acharyamam Vijnaniya. One should definitely understand this. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that the Guru is a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guru. Therefore, according to all the evidence given by the Shastra and by the practical behavior of the devotees, one must accept the Guru. Aditi accepted her husband as her Guru, so that he would direct her how to advance in spiritual consciousness, devotional service, by worshiping the Supreme Lord. Adisha tvam vijashesta vidim tad upadavanam ashutu shati me deva siddhantiya saha putrakai O best of the Brahmins, kindly instruct me in the perfect method of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, by which the Lord may very soon be pleased with me and save me, along with my sons, from this most dangerous condition. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Vutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Sakarane. Here's a fundamental part of our philosophy, that is, what the role of the Guru is in the life of the devotee who is sincerely trying to become or revive his relation with Krishna. The goal is to wake up. It's said that Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sara Kavanoi Shravanadi Shudachite Koryoradai, that we're already Krishna's eternal service. It's not that we're going to become in the future Krishna's eternal service. Either we serve Krishna in a favorable way, or we serve Krishna in an unfavorable way. Unfavorable means that we're not conscious of Krishna, we're conscious of his external energy. Favorable means we become conscious of Krishna through his internal energy. And therefore, factually speaking, everyone is accepting some authority. It is said, Tarko apratishta shutiya vivina yasavarishir yasyana vinam dharmasitatam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena katha sapanda. Generally speaking, we choose our authority in different ways. One of them is by argument. There's someone, even in the Vedic culture, we find that people would argue with each other, just like they're doing now, but they would argue on the basis of Shastra. And if someone was able to defeat the other person by Shastric arguments, then that person would become their disciple. Because nowadays people don't know Shastra, they just argue on the basis of mental speculation. And there's no end to the arguments on the basis of mental speculation. Therefore, it's considered apratishta, tarko apratishta, because I have my opinion according to the mode of nature I'm situated in, and I'm 100% convinced by illusion that it's correct. And you have your opinion under the mode of nature that you're situated, and due to the illusion, you're 100% convinced that it's reality too. Otherwise, one wouldn't be an illusion. That's the definition of illusion. So one can go on arguing, and even in the midst of changing the mode of nature I'm situated in, I simply change my illusion from one illusion to the next. Or in the Sabarishir, as Yasyanavina, Taraka. Taraka Pratishta Shutiya. There are many scriptures, because scripture is not only to tell people directly what the truth is. Scripture is to help people come to the platform of understanding what the truth is. Just like the highest mathematics is not taught in the first grade class. Someone may be interested, a child at 5 years old may dream that they're going to become a mathematician in the future, which implies that they're going to be able to deal with higher mathematics. But at the beginning, they're taught 1 + 1 is equal to 2. They don't give an advanced algebra class to 5-year-old children, normally. Similarly, there are many scriptures, and they're not only meant to sometimes say what the absolute truth is, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, but generally speaking, they're also meant to help people come to a platform where they can accept the absolute truth. Even at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna did not directly reveal that he was God. He went through 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita explaining the different yoga systems. So that Arjuna would come to the platform would be able to hear, not only Arjuna, but anyone. What are the yoga systems meant for? Sometimes in modern society, people think that the yoga systems are meant to keep health. It's certainly part of the yoga system, because if we're unhealthy, our minds will become even more distracted than they already are. But we don't find the great souls practicing yoga, and we don't find Samika Rishi in his ashram in the tortoise pose or standing on his head. It's Sukha Sthira. It's meant for becoming comfortable so you can become steady in your meditation. But Arjuna, in order to pacify the mind, there's karma yoga, there's jnana yoga, there's ashtanga yoga, and what is the whole thing meant for? So eventually, we'd actually listen to the truth. People are not prepared to listen to the truth because they have too many other concerns. And they think that I cannot become happy or peaceful without meeting these other concerns. They cannot imagine, simply by hearing the absolute truth, all the concerns would become satisfied. Therefore, they feel a need for many other things. Therefore it says, Itat varamula nishechanena trityanti taskana bujo prashaka prahanaharascha yatendriyanam savarhanam tataiva savarhanam atiteja. Just like if you water the root of the tree, the water goes to all the leaves and branches. If you eat food and it goes to the stomach, then the different parts of the body are nourished. Simply by serving Krishna, all the demigods and all other living entities, including ourselves, are all satisfied. But people don't have faith in that, and therefore they have to study many different scriptures, or nowadays it comes under the heading of self-help, whatever it is, or taking a yoga class, or this and that, so many things. And Nasavrishyaryasanavina, we know that there are many rishis, but rishi doesn't mean that they know everything. They know something. And nowadays, if you know something, you consider people are, due to their limited conception, I think if someone knows a little bit, he knows everything. If someone has a little mystic power, he can produce some action, he's God. He knows everything. So the rishis know something, but that doesn't mean they know everything. Gautama, Rishi, Jaimini, they certainly know hundreds and thousands of times more than we do, but that doesn't mean they know everything. Dharmasya tadvam nihitam guhayam. So therefore, one has to find out, one has to seek the knowledge from a person who actually knows the truth. But since we're in ignorance, how do we know who knows the truth? It's what's called a catch-22. You're supposed to find out from a person who knows the truth, about the truth, but because we're in ignorance, we don't know who the person is who's going to tell us about the truth. But dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The actual truth is hidden in the heart of a self-realized person. Mahadano yena kata sapanta. Therefore, we have to choose that, follow the path of a Mahajan. Then we'll actually get to the truth. Now it's assumed that when one comes to the Hare Krishna movement, that one has accepted, more or less, that the absolute truth happens to be Krishna. If someone, out of sentiment, comes to the movement and sentimentally accepts Krishna as God without much understanding, without much conviction, just because everyone else accepts him, that's in the Hare Krishna movement, the prasadam's good or something, then it may not last very long. Because we have to know what the goal is. Unless we know what the goal is, then why would we bother going there? If we don't accept Krishna as the goal, then why would we follow anyone who's taking us to Krishna? But how do we know Krishna is the goal? That's one of our problems, that we don't really know Krishna is the goal. We have some idea that Krishna is the goal. Therefore, the position of the neophyte devotee is rather precarious, because he knows he has some faith that Krishna is the goal. Either obtaining that faith through some kind of higher taste, because after all, what are we looking for? We're not looking to increase our misery. We didn't come to the Hare Krishna movement, to increase our misery, however we may define that. I guess the main misery is living with other devotees. Because generally that's the main austerity that we accept. And sometimes we have to accept other austerities, like the temple's not as organized as we like it to be, or the prasadam's not exactly like the way we like it to be, or whatever. But generally speaking, the main misery is we have to accept authority, direct. Generally people think they have no authority. They think I'm free. Because modern society is cleverly devised, leaders of modern society have cleverly devised modern society to keep everyone 100% captive by the illusory energy, and at the same time believe falsely that they're independent. Otherwise, they couldn't exploit people so nicely. They think they're not accepting any guru, any authority. They don't accept the teachers and authority. Why? Because they watch television. They go to the movies, and their heroes, their leaders, who they accept their authority, are more or less nowadays in the modes of ignorance, and sometimes there's a little passion. So they accept as an authority someone who only accepts their senses and mind as the authority. That is an authority, and that authority will lead us to the darkest regions of existence, where the authorities like the Yamadutas and Yamaraj will teach us that there are authorities in the universe. And even the minds of people who are trained up to become rebellious, then the government sends out their troops and teaches them, you may rebel, protest, but ultimately it's false. It means no difference. We have the bullets and the guns, and that's ultimately what the difference is going to be. So people are not independent in modern society, nor are they're just serving their senses and mind under the direction of other bigger animals. And the result is, the blind are leading the blind. And the result is that both the leaders of society, they'll enter into the lower species of life, and their followers will go with them. On the other hand, we're not proud of the fact that somehow or another, by good fortune, by the mercy of Krishna and his representatives, we've come to the path of Krishna consciousness, because there's some glimmer of hope that there is a truth beyond simply sense gratification. And therefore, somehow or another, we may have taken some prasadam when we like the food, or we heard the holy name, or we've read Prabhupada's books, or some books, some scriptures, and we've understood that there is a goal of life beyond this body, beyond this mind, beyond our superficial intelligence and false ego. And therefore we're willing to undergo some austerity, some tapasya, in order to realize it. But in order to realize it, we have to follow a Mahaja. Therefore, we're emphasizing, at least within our society, that Prabhupada is that Mahaja. Why? Because he was able to do something that, by his practical exhibition, Shakti, Krishna Shakti, he was able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. No simple thing. Try to go out in Croatia by yourself without any help from anyone else and try to create the same try to do the same thing Prabhupada did. Not only create Croatia, in every country in the world practically. And those who followed Prabhupada and what Prabhupada was trying to accomplish, inasmuch as they heard, understood, and applied Prabhupada's principles. Success cannot only be judged in terms of the number of followers, it also has to be judged in how much the followers have accepted the principle of disciple succession. They may not be perfect, but at least they have to accept the principles of disciple succession, or that there is a disciple succession. And that disciple succession means perfectly understanding what Krishna's instructions are. Now, Prabhupada never claimed that he perfectly understood Krishna's instructions, although his followers, generally speaking, have accepted that he did. All he said is, I'm presenting those instructions perfectly. And therefore we have to judge ourselves whether the instructions are perfect by trying to understand what the instructions are. Now, there's two types of gurus. One is called the Shiksha Guru, and the other is called the Diksha Guru. And then something called the Bharma Pradakshika Guru, which is another form of Shiksha Guru, but it's one who introduces us to Krishna consciousness. Now in our modern Krishna consciousness movement, we have a problem. We have many problems. But we have fundamental problems because we accept Diksha Guru, and the Diksha Guru is supposed to be Ashraya. He's not supposed to fall down. He's supposed to be steady. Acharyam, Vijaniyam, Navamarthakarya. So in one sense, the Acharyas, Krishna says himself, is said to be my very self. On the other hand, we're presented that we have to accept the Guru. So we have to accept the Guru who's as good as Krishna. Sakshat Hari. It's not that 90% is good as Krishna or 80% is good as Krishna. They're supposed to be as good as Krishna, because Krishna there's no 80% in spiritual life. It's not that Krishna is 80 residents of Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan. They're 80% Krishna conscious. They're more than 100% Krishna consciousness, because everything depends upon the enthusiasm and intensity of love for Krishna. And their enthusiasm and intensity of love is growing every moment. Therefore, they're more than 100%. They're always increasing that 100%. So in one sense, we have to accept such a guru who is 100% Krishna conscious. On the other hand, we find that so many of our gurus, a good number of them at least, have fallen down, initiating guru. So it presents a contradiction in the faith of the devotees. And then on the other hand, we have Shiksha Guru. So how is it resolved? Well, as far as I understand, is that actually we have to understand the steady role, as Prabhupada expressed, the role of the Diksha Guru. It's not that he's necessarily perfect, but he presents perfect instructions. So as long as he's giving perfect instructions, then he must be accepted in that role. It's not a question he may in the future have difficulty, but as long as he's giving perfect instructions, then he's acting as Krishna's representative. Because it's the instructions that will deliver me. My Diksha Guru, my Shiksha Guru may not be perfect, but if they give perfect instructions, and I hear those perfect instructions, and I try to understand them and follow them, then I'll become perfect. That's the process of becoming perfect. It's not that my Diksha Guru is perfect, and I take initiation, and therefore I become perfect by taking a perfect Diksha Guru as my spiritual master. No, if he's perfect, he'll be perfect because he gives me perfect instructions, and as long as I follow those perfect instructions, then I'll be on the path to becoming perfect. Now, the Shiksha Guru and the Diksha Guru, they both are supposed to give perfect instructions. But after all, the perfect instructions are coming from Krishna. They don't come from the Diksha Guru, and they don't come from the Shiksha Guru. They do come, but through the mercy of the Super Soul. There's a verse that Prabhupada cites, Guru Krishna Ke, actually I always forget the word, that verse, those, Guru Krishna Ke, Antayami, Eduri, Shrestha. That one should know the Shiksha Guru and the initiating Guru. One should know them actually. One should know the Shiksha Guru is my very self. The Shiksha Guru is the best of all the devotees, and Antayami Guru Shestra, Ekuru Rupa. These two, the Super Soul and the Shiksha Guru, one who's actually going to deliver us. So then enter the Shiksha Guru, but he has the same role as the Diksha Guru to a certain extent. He also gives perfect instructions. That's why he's a Shiksha Guru. But you can change your Shiksha Guru. That is, if you find he's not giving perfect instructions, then you just don't accept the instructions. But the Diksha Guru is the one who's supposed to give perfect instructions all the time. But if he's having some difficulty, you just can't change him because you're only supposed to have one Diksha Guru. So either he has to change, his philosophy has to change, it has to be in line with and therefore, hopefully someone will change him, and therefore the disciple has to wait for some time and see whether or not the Guru, the Diksha Guru, has changed his philosophy and his lifestyle to be more in line with the actual disciple succession. Just like the example is given, that the girl wants to get married, she wants a good husband. She may pray to Lord Shiva, she may have nice parents, and they seek out a good husband. But if she gets a bad husband, after all the endeavor to get a good husband, still she doesn't leave him. She remains faithful. Similarly, the disciple remains faithful. Of course, if the spiritual master is not leading one to Krishna, then he may be changed. But generally speaking, or if he commits some grievous activity, then one's faith normally would not be reposed. If he revives his Krishna consciousness again and goes on the right path and direction, then of course he can be accepted again. In any case, it's not expected that everyone who on the path of Krishna consciousness is going to deviate. But in our society, the way I see it, is that the primary role of the Diksha Guru is to inform the devotees about the necessity of taking shelter of the infallible instructions coming into succession that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So that doesn't mean that the Diksha Guru becomes less important, because the same etiquette, the same role is there, but he just doesn't give the idea that I'm going to deliver you, nor did Prabhupada give that idea. Prabhupada gave the idea that the infallible instructions will deliver you if you follow them, and Prabhupada was in a position, if you follow Prabhupada's example, then you'll be delivered. So those who are acting the role of Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, their philosophy has to be, if you follow my example as much as I'm following Prabhupada's example, then you'll have a good example. If my example is in line with the teaching, the infallible teachings, as much as you see that and follow those infallible teachings, then you'll make advancement. But that has to be seen in a practical way. And therefore, before one takes initiation, one should see two things. One is that the Diksha Guru is not only following the instructions, giving perfect instructions, the same instructions that Prabhupada gave, that our disciple succession gave, but also is following those instructions too. Is actually a manifestation of those instructions. Of course, generally speaking, that's one side of it. And also we have to have some relationship with the guru, some guru. Otherwise, why would we be inspired to follow? In Goloka Vrindavan, people love Krishna. Krishna doesn't have to tell everyone what to do there because he's God. He doesn't have to keep on reminding everyone, I'm God. You better follow my instructions. You know, there are many other planets you can go to. They follow him because they're all, without it, they never think he's God. They don't care whether he's God. He might be God, he may not be God. But they're overwhelmingly in love with him. relationship means that they're enthusiastically serving it. And since our goal is to love Vrindavan, it can't only be vidhi. It has to be a relationship also with Krishna and his representative. If the guru is going to represent Krishna, he has to represent some part of that relationship too. It can't always be dry and without any rasa or relationship or feeling or concern. There has to be some rasa there too. But both of them have to be there. We can have a great rasa with our guru, our initiating guru, and then we can go to hell together. Or I can have no rasa with the guru, I can have perfect instructions, and I will be completely uninspired to follow them, because they're all about rasa. So both have to be there. In any case, whoever takes up the role of guru in the society, because whether we understand it or not, or accept it or not, or explain it or not, everyone is supposed to be a guru in our society. The women are wondering, they want to become initiating gurus. It's one of our, you probably heard about that. Some ladies who want to become initiating. As if only when you become initiating guru, then you become guru. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just got it wrong. He just didn't understand. Because after all, he's a man. No, he said, Yari Deka Tarika Krishna Upadesh Amar Aga Guruhana Taride. Whoever you meet, you tell them about Krishna, and then that way you actually become gurus. That's actually guru. Whether you're a Shiksha guru or Diksha guru, you have to tell people about Krishna. Now what the role, whether they accept ladies as Diksha guru or not, is irrelevant, because there's no real difference between the role. It's just, probably it's going to be, it's difficult enough for the men in our society to understand what the role of the guru is in the society. Prabhupada understood perfectly because he happened to have been self-realized, or he happens to be self-realized. So it's easier, you could say. Because he relied on Krishna 100%, and he was self-realized. So that's where he means that because Krishna knows everything, if you rely upon someone who knows everything, then everything you do is perfect. On the other hand, as much as we rely upon someone who knows everything, namely Krishna, through his representatives, then our activities also, in one sense, become perfect. So in that sense, everyone who is in the Krishna consciousness movement, their activities are on the liberated platform. But there may be some problem, maybe whatever, however they work it out. Because ladies are different, happen to be different from men. It's not a question that ladies can't be guru. Everyone has to become guru. But ladies happen to be different from men. It is said, that's how Krishna made the material world. Otherwise it would be pretty boring around here. No one would want to be here, which is not bad, but everyone would just remain in Brahman. It is said that when, from at least the astrological science, that men, when they do the right thing, they feel good. And ladies, when they feel good, generally speaking, they do the right thing. Of course, if we're on the liberated platform, like John the Devi or someone else, then it doesn't really matter whether they feel good or bad. Because men are the same thing nowadays. If men feel good, they do the right thing, because men have become like ladies to a large extent. And that way, they won't do the right thing unless they feel good. So you got to also counsel the men psychologically, make them feel good, then they'll do the right thing. But there's more propensity, men, the higher nature of men are provoked. There's more of that, or invoked. Then there's more of the tendency that they'll do the right thing because it's the right thing, out of duty. And similarly, when the ladies' higher nature is invoked, then they'll also feel good because that's their nature, is to feel good, motherly or whatever else, and therefore they'll do the right thing. So to say that men and women are the same is just foolishness, and not to make any differentiation between them, their psychology, their mentality. just created chaos in our society. People don't really care because it's the age of ambition, where everyone's just ambitious to become the supreme. And therefore we have so many problems. So we're supposed to understand things properly so our lower nature is not prominent and our higher nature becomes prominent. And we don't wind up competing with each other on who's actually supreme, because none of us is supreme. We're just wasting our time. We're trying to become a servant. We're not trying to become the supreme. When one takes the role of initiating or instructing Guru, is not to become supreme, it's to be a servant. And therefore it's much more difficult to take up a role that requires absolute perfection, to do it perfectly. So in any case, this is the age of practice, where Prabhupada Krishna has given us an opportunity within society to practice. But we don't have to know what we're trying to practice. We're trying to practice become a servant of the previous acharyas. And that way, if we serve them their instructions, we should get the happy experience of Krishna revealing himself to us. Because that's all he's asking us to do. He's not asking us to build bridges and skyscrapers and leap mountains. He's just asking us to feel ourselves to be a servant of the previous acharyas, try to ascertain what they want us to do through Guru Sadhana Shastra, specifically Prabhupada's books and his representatives. And then when we've understood it clearly through the proper process, try to do faithfully our work of giving each other and others who are innocent Krishna consciousness and defeating the atheistic mentality that there is no Krishna and that we're all Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is, to wrap it all up, is that we're fortunate that we have perfect instructions being delivered to us through this succession. It's not only the Hare Krishna movement. There are many, even the Gaudiya Math or even other religions, have some perfect instructions. But if we examine these words like Acharya Mam, Vijaniyam, Navamarti, Acharya, who is the most faithful to their spiritual master, who understood their spiritual master's instructions, who understood Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, whoever he met, Srila Prabhupada, he tried to help them become Krishna conscious. Not only, and wherever he went, and on behalf of his spiritual master told him to come to the Western world, and he went all around the world, and whoever he met, he tried to help them become Krishna conscious. So who's a better example than Srila Prabhupada? And those who are following Srila Prabhupada, every one of us, to that extent, we become Guru. And we may take up different roles as Guru, but we should know what the role is and try to do it properly. The role of the initiating the spiritual master, which means he has the spiritual life, at least, of the disciple, try to help them as much as they become submissive, give them the right instructions. But if we don't know what the right instructions are, if the initiating Guru is not perfect, he may not always know what the right instructions are. And therefore his duty is to try to himself find out what the right instructions are through Guru Sadhana Shastra, and especially through the help of the Super Soul and his representatives. And then when he knows, then he can tell his disciple what to do. And then if the disciple is submissive and willing to follow out the instructions, then Prabhupada said the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiry becomes perfect. Then the disciple will make spiritual advancement. But it's not up to the disciple to figure out, well, my guru he's Kanista Adhikari, so therefore I only follow his instructions 50%, or 75, or 20%. Because it doesn't matter what my spiritual master is, whether Shiksha Guru, Shiksha or Diksha. What matters is if he's giving perfect instructions. And if he's giving perfect instructions, and for the Diksha Guru especially, means as perfect as he can, then at least I should follow those instructions. They're not the only instructions being given to us in our society, because basically speaking, there's an overriding understanding what instructions are. That instructions through Prabhupada coming through the GBC. They're not coming through the Diksha and Shiksha Guru. The ultimate authority is not the Shiksha or Diksha Guru, it's the GBC. But in our lives, the GBC usually doesn't impact us very much. But in any case, that's the standard of what's accepted, at least officially within our societies, our philosophy, and our way of doing things. And then the Guru is supposed to be in harmony with that. He's going to follow Prabhupada. The GBC may be wrong, but then we're supposed to try to correct them, especially through knowledge, through proper understanding and example. But it's probably less likely that 35 of the senior devotees in our society are wrong than 1 or 2 are wrong. Of course, they can be wrong, but they can also be correct. And therefore we find there's an evolution of understanding. But what's not wrong is the idea that we're trying to convey, whether it be the GBC or the Diksha or the Shiksha Guru, or the temple president who's supposed to be like a Shiksha Guru, is supposed to be surrounded by Shiksha Gurus, although we don't sometimes see them. We don't recognize them actually. But what is that they're giving infallible instructions. And hopefully they're doing it in a way that appeals to our heart, especially if we need a lot of appeal to our heart in order to accept them. So they're putting the instructions in a very nicely coded package. So a nice bow on it, so we're willing to open it up and see what's inside. So in that way we follow that process. And especially if we have more qualified Diksha Gurus, the more that they'll be able to explain to us how to properly reciprocate with the innumerable Shiksha Gurus we have. And then the innumerable Shiksha Gurus they have, hopefully they'll understand the role of the Diksha Guru and establish faith in the Diksha Guru, and all of them establish faith in the infallible instructions coming from Prabhupada. And Prabhupada himself, due to his unlimited compassion, spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world, actually as a representative, the most obvious representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. Happens to be Krishna, Radha and Krishna combined. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
Regarding these infallible instructions, what happens that one Shiksha Guru is giving the instructions that later turn out not to be best for spiritual growth?
Depends what it is. If they tell you to go to the bar and you know, what do you mean by it?
Well, some senior devotees gave the example how in our movement, in this geographical region, some Shiksha and Diksha Gurus advise their disciples to give up their jobs, employments, and just simply join the temple and distribute books, and that later did not turn out to be conducive and in accordance with their psychophysical nature and everything, their bar and ashram.
But that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake in the sense that they didn't. It is possible for people to leave and join the society, give up everything, and take up the process. There's no loss in that. But they may not be able to maintain that situation. So then they do something else. Would not be considered a mistake. That would be considered more or less a lack of full, maybe not the best way of engaging their disciple, but it is the best way of engaging the disciple because it's engaging them in Krishna service, in pure devotional service. There may be better ways of doing it. In other words, it's absolute, but even in the absolute platform, there are things that are better and not so good. But it's all absolute. To engage the disciple in a way which is not Krishna consciousness. Like I know there was one initiating spiritual master who's advising his disciples that they should have sex every month, whether they wanted children or not. So that's an improper instruction because it's not in harmony with our, first of all, just logic, what the purpose of sex is. It's obviously not the way of as they have in tantric yoga, some so-called increase in in elevating your consciousness. It's not. It's a physical act which actually draws one's energy away, which makes it more difficult to concentrate on Krishna. But if it's done to please Krishna, produce children, then it can be elevated in the sense that one focuses on Krishna rather than on the physical act itself. And the idea is that it's a service to bring up children in Krishna consciousness. But this particular initiating guru himself was having problems. He wasn't following the principles. And therefore he misdirected his disciples. Which further aggravated his problems. So that's a mistake, because it's not in line with our teachings. And therefore Krishna made the correction. He's no longer initiating guru in the society. And most of the disciples, either those who took him as guru, either left or took others who were hopefully are giving the proper instructions, or are not giving that improper instruction. Yes?
That's an example of gross deviation. But regarding this perfect transference of perfect instructions coming to Prabhupada and disciplic succession, this problem of being perfect in transferring the perfect is manifesting, for instance, in the phenomena that we have gurus who oppose each other's.
Well, that in itself is a mistake. That's the mistake. In other words, Prabhupada said the guru doesn't know everything. He knows as much as Krishna tells him. So the perfect guru is not that he knows everything. He's not Krishna. He's simply trying to become a representative of Krishna. But his perfect knowledge is he tells everyone to serve Krishna. And he himself is fully dedicated to Krishna's service. Now, as far as gurus opposing each other, there's only one guru, that's Krishna. It's not like Diksha gurus, but Shiksha gurus also. In our daily life, we probably oppose each other too. But that should be worked out privately, so that faith is not lost, especially if you have the role of Diksha guru, where people are looking at you as a Shraya. There's only one Shraya, that's Krishna. Therefore it says, Guru Krishna say, what's it? Do we have Chaitanya Charitamrita here, so I can do that? I can do that too. It's Adi Lila. Do we have Adi Lila? The infallible instruction is that one is in harmony with Krishna. Namely, we're trying to bring people to Krishna.
Which part?
First part. You don't have the first part.
Well,
Yeah, that's one everyone steals. That's where you never find it. Every time I had a set of Chaitanya Charitamritas that were left out, that was the first one that everyone stole. Stole there. Acquired. And it's funny, you never find it anywhere. I don't know what they did with it. Maybe they ate it. Maybe they never get the perfect knowledge by eating it. So this is 34, 35. Shiksha Guru Ke Tejane Krishnera Swarup Antaryama Bhakta Shesa E Guru. So Shiksha Guru Ke. Once you know that Shiksha Guru is the Guru, is my very self. Once you know the instructing spiritual master is the personality of God, the personality of Krishna, the Lord manifests himself as the super soul and is the greatest devotee of the Lord. So the Shiksha Guru, which includes the initiating Guru, this initiating Guru is generally the Shiksha Guru who who inspired us to take initiation because we wanted to surrender to Krishna. So, and then after that, he's supposed to instruct you and show you all the other ones who will help you, inspire you to surrender to Krishna. But we should know that there's only one Guru, it's Krishna. We're not impersonals, but the Guru, the Diksha Guru, all the Shiksha Gurus, they all represent Krishna and his instructions how to surrender to him. So if there's a disagreement amongst them, there's sometimes since we're not necessarily perfect, or we have perfect understanding, or even amongst in the spiritual world, there are some things in that sense. There's even disagreements how to serve Krishna. But that should be done privately, so that the faith of the neophyte devotees is not disturbed. But there can be disagreements because there are different perspectives. We're individuals. To expect that everyone's going to think the same, that would be quite boring. That's impersonalism. But we try to think the same as Krishna, who happens to know everything, who knows perfectly well how to keep everyone's independence and inspiration. So it's not that thinking the same as Krishna means that we become impersonalists. We think everyone's going to think the same, do the same things. But thinking the same as Krishna means we know how to perfectly put into place unity and diversity. But when there's two of the authorities within ISKCON start quarreling with each other and criticizing each other, it's not exactly the best way of demonstrating love and devotion and surrender. So it should be done privately. That's all. Disagreements will be there, but because the proper situation should be there, so that it's worked out, and so that harmony hopefully will be created. And even if it's not, at least others don't become disturbed by it. Is that clear? But don't expect utopia. And even if it goes on, Prabhupada, I remember when I first joined the movement, Prahladananda and Gargamuni, they were notorious for fighting with each other, although they were brothers. So Prabhupada just laughed when he'd hear the complaints. He said they're just like two puppies in the same litter fighting with each other. He didn't take it seriously. I mean, maybe he did take it seriously, but he in one sense he did. And it says in the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not see disagreements between Vaishnavas to be something material. Generally speaking, it's spiritual. And therefore one should not take sides, otherwise one's life, one's spiritual life will become ruined by criticizing one or the other. Better let them work it out rather than taking sides in the issues. But of course it's better that they work it out themselves, so that people don't have to think they have to take a side or have to, But anyhow, that's life in Kali Yuga. We have to understand these things. Anything else? Yes?
I would like to ask about Lord Chaitanya said in Shishikshastakam that I would like to serve you life after life. But our main goal is to go back home for forever, never come back.
Yeah, but that is service to Krishna. Means we'll be back home, even in this lifetime. We were actually completely engaged in Krishna service. And Krishna will always be with us all the time, even in this lifetime. As far as going back to Goloka Vrindavan, well, as we find in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gokula Vrindavan is just non-different from Goloka Vrindavan. It's a question of our consciousness. So although Gopa Kumara, he was going all over the universe trying to find Goloka Vrindavan, ultimately he went there. But then when he went there, he realized it was the same as Gokula Vrindavan. The Gokula Vrindavan on this earth. So we're engaged in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, serving Krishna, and even in separation. Then we'll see this whole world is as good as the spiritual world. And even if we're not present in Goloka Vrindavan immediately, we won't make any difference to us. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't make any difference because he was already in the spiritual world. That's why he didn't care about going back to Godhead or liberation or anything, because he was already liberated. But we don't understand, we'll understand that as much as we start becoming liberated. Then we'll see that we don't really have to be in Goloka Vrindavan. If Krishna wants us there, we'll be there. We're not imposing ourselves to go there. We're going wherever Krishna wants us to go. And that will be as good. And then if Krishna's pleased, then we'll actually be pleased if we have that mentality. And if we go to Goloka Vrindavan because we wanted to go there, we'll always feel like we don't belong there because no one else feels like we do. They don't care. They're raised in Vrindavan, where they are. They just want to serve Krishna. And there's plenty of service here. But we have to understand what that service is and accept it. And then we'll be to shanti at least, will be satisfied that Krishna did put me in the right place for his service. It's not a bad situation. Anything else? Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, or Premanande.